the first role itself is actually a leadership role. So I, for example, was handling a team of about 6 modern trade account specialists who've been in the company for far longer than I had, and here I am, and I'm supposed to be their boss, right? I joined HUL as a UFLP. So generally, like I said, it's usually a batch of management trainees that join together, and it's about an 18-month trainee period that we have, and you spend a couple of months across multiple different stints, right? And I joined as a sales and marketing trainee. So the emphasis is obviously on sales and marketing. So the stints with the longest duration would be obviously sales and marketing, but you also end up spending a couple of months each across other functions as well. You also get a chance to do a rural stint, in fact, where you actually go and spend a month in a village, live in a consumer's home in the village, absolutely cut off from civilization. That, I think, for me was one of the most transformative months in the entire stint, despite it being so jam-packed and filled with learning. One of the projects that I was given was basically to unlock incremental growth in specific cities of Vapi and Ahmedabad. So while I was obviously getting an understanding of sales fundamentals and getting my basics sorted, when this project was given to me, the way I kind of approached it was, for me, intuitively I look at data first. So I first looked at data for that city. So I was working in Vapi at that point of time. I looked at basically the outlet sales history in Vapi, kind of categorized that and bucketed the outlets based on what the performance of the outlet was at that point of time, right? So what I realized is that while a big chunk of outlets were performing well, were doing well, and were basically driving the growth for the area, what I called at that point of time like the star outlets, there was a bucket of outlets that was pulling the growth down. Basically, these were the laggards in that area, right? And the common, what I realized then through looking at data, etc., is that all of these outlets which are pulling the growth down have a common element. Basically, they're all a specific type of outlet in terms of format, right? These are all what we would call independent outlets, like, or self-service stores, basically. So generally, my stint was in general trade, where your regular outlet is basically a kirane ka dukan, your neighborhood kirana store, right? We also have, over the course of time, as these kirana stores get bigger, some of them convert into self-service stores, basically, where the shopper can actually enter the store and explore and purchase on her own. Because these stores are, at the end of the day, kirana stores which have evolved into these larger stores, right? Somewhere along the way, they've kind of not been able to figure out how to cater for the shopper who's coming into this store, because they don't shop the same way. In a regular kirana store, what I realized is that a consumer is actually going, shopper is going and asking for a product, whereas here she's interacting with the product. While from data I realized that this is the bucket of outlets, what I had to do is take this insight, work in the market for a couple of days, for a couple of weeks, to understand what is it in the store that's not working, right? What was clearly coming out is that these retailers are actually treating the outlets similar to what they were treating when they were kirana stores. So they were not stocking the right SKUs, for example. They were stocking smaller packs, they were stocking sachets, they were not stocking enough depth. So generally kirana stores, they don't have much shelf space, so they keep possibly 4 or 5 pieces of a specific SKU and then they refill the next week. Whereas in a self-service store, you have far more shelf space. You need to actually possibly keep 12 pieces of the same SKU. Again, retailers are not able to understand this difference. I did a entire 10 days of basically educating these retailers. So there were a set of about 50 odd outlets in that area. With the help of the sales team there at the distributor point, I basically cascaded what my plan was, a short, kind of training session equivalent for retailers to explain to them the importance of, changing certain aspects of business, improving the visibility in store. How do you stock it on shelf? How do you improve, what we call planogramming? These are aspects of things that they don't possibly have exposure to. Implemented this for about a month or so towards the end of my project, and was actually able to see tangible results in terms of growth improving in these outlets. After the trainee stint that I had, which was about 18 months or so after joining from campus, I actually joined as a customer development manager in Bombay, Pune, basically. So what that basically means is I was handling modern trade for that cluster. And this was basically a sales role. Typically, when you finish your trainee stint and you're a sales and marketing trainee, you do end up starting with sales. The idea being that you need to kind of understand and get an experience and flavor of sales, understand how that functions before you get into marketing, so you actually have a more nuanced view of the entire organization. And the first role itself is actually a leadership role. So I, for example, was handling a team of about 6 modern trade account specialists, and these are basically, it was a team of 6 MTASs, as we call them, who've been in the company for far longer than I had. I was a fresh management trainee out of B school, and here I am, and I'm supposed to be their boss, right? What they possibly don't have too much experience in is maybe looking at data, working say with Excel, figuring out how to kind of solve a business problem. And that's where you come in, and that's where the relationship that then gets stronger basically. And what I helped them do was look at data in a similar way, but for their part of the business. I think I kind of also picked up on a couple of learnings that I had in my stint, where I realized that giving smaller projects through the course of normal work actually helps you kind of learn and get a sense of ownership. So I did that with my team as well. The first sales role that you do is very execution heavy. So you basically handle a sales team that's on ground, that's actually going and getting orders every single day, making sure that we are in stock, available in every single store every single day when a consumer goes and looks for us. So what you learn there is one aspect of sales, but there's also another aspect of sales, which is what happens behind the scenes basically, in terms of designing or planning for this entire team on ground, right? Sales manager role gave me an understanding of what happens on ground. This actually gave me an understanding of why we design things the way we do and how to design it basically. So doing both of these stints actually gives you a very strong and robust understanding of the entire sales system. And I think as a progression to that, what I'm now working on is basically how do you now kind of make a consumer go to the store and buy now. I think on campus it's easy to get carried away by the theory of subjects. You don't really get to interact with consumers as much. You work on case studies, you look at probably business decisions and things like that. But as a marketing, when you study marketing on campus, you may not really understand the context and the importance of a consumer, right? And that's something I think the minute when you approach any marketing internship or a marketing internship with HUL for that matter, you should always keep at the forefront, because that will help you guide your entire experience. It will help you make the right choices in terms of how to approach a problem. It will help you solve that problem in the right way.